When it comes to acting and speeches, people have also expressed to me, do you get nervous? Do I get nervous? Of course I get nervous. I actually used to suffer from stage fright, debilitating stage fright. And I didn't even know that it was stage fright. I think the first time it happened was when I had I was in a theater class in high school, and it was like my first scene. And I had to like be a manicurist. Lord, I done painted my poor friend's nails all kind of haphazardly because I was just so nervous, and all the nerves went into my hands, and I was like, what is this? What is happening to me? I didn't know what was happening. But then it never happened again in that class. It didn't start happening again until I started studying acting in university. And then it was random. And it would happen during auditions for whatever I was auditioning for. It would be random. It wouldn't happen all the time. But at certain times, it's probably the times where I felt most judged, which is why it would happen during auditions, or maybe like if I'm getting graded for a particular thing. Whenever it was time to do like a full-fledged performance in front of an audience, yeah, there's like excitement and little nerves, but I was never like rendered with like debilitating like paralysis. It's like I could get through the words, but it's just like my hands would just shake. It was involuntary. And no one could say anything to comfort me or to change it or to figure out what was actually happening to me. And they were just, oh, well, just relax. It was just like, if only it were that easy. And I know those of you who have suffered stage fright, also known as performance anxiety, have felt the same. It's just like, if I knew why it happened, why I felt this way, then it wouldn't be happening. And no one can there is no surface reason for this. Now, I was in the library, I think I was looking for a play to read or something like that, trying to find like a new monologue to audition with. And then I ran into a book that changed my life. Now, I was already reading a book that a friend of mine got for me, which was changing my life slowly but surely. And it's known as The Power of the Subconscious Mind. I don't know if you can see that. The Power of Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. Joseph Murphy, you could tell, is a devout man, but he has written this book in a way where you could be agnostic or atheist, and it can also apply to those of faith. Everything's linked to childhood. Don't blame parents for everything, because your parents did the best they could and they were raised a certain way based on the resources of the time, the culture of the time, the culture that their parents grew up in, economics, all of those things. But these things culminate into certain behavior disorders. And so it's not to sit there and indict your family or your teachers or anything from the past. Most likely it is a factor. Sometimes it could be like if you were hospitalized a whole lot, it can create certain things, which comes to the next book that really changed the game for me. And this book is called Overcoming Stage Fright by Joyce Ashley. Now, Overcoming Stage Fright, she's a therapist who herself had suffered from stage fright. She wrote this book and she documented the therapy that she was offering other people that were looking to conquer stage fright. And I know she delves into the teachings of Carl Jung. Carl Jung's style and analysis really kind of unearth those deep wounds that were in her psyche from childhood, and bring them to the surface so that they can be healed. That whole notion of a inner child. When you were very young, you saw how people acted in the world. You saw how they acted towards you, and then you started to create a whole system of beliefs and perceptions and fears from those moments. Your ego is what protects your inner child. Your ego is developed to do things to protect this child from feeling those same wounds. So your ego could bring you to stage fright as well, because they're trying to protect you from the danger that your mind perceives from speaking out loud. And she breaks it down, asks a whole bunch of questions, and you start to unearth questions that you probably never asked yourself. When I approached reading Overcoming Stage Fright, I just thought they were going to have me do some little exercises, some breathing techniques, and I didn't know what to expect, but I wasn't expecting me to go into this deep dive into my own psyche, asking myself questions about how I felt growing up, exercises like saying your name out loud and how's that sound to you, actually confronting that voice in your head, that inner critic that's telling you things that are wrong when you're trying to break out of your comfort zone. It's a very wonderful book. Anyway, I'm not even sure if this book is still in print because I had a little trouble getting my hands on it. I would say if anybody would want some, some key advice on how to get on the road to conquering the fear of public speaking, the fear of stage fright, or any kind of performance anxiety where you're going to have to do something in front of people and you don't want to choke, I always highly recommend meditation. A lot of people have different things to say about meditation as far as the length. People feel like they don't have time to meditate. To me, you make time for the things that you want to make time for. People make time for things that they want to make time for. And if you want to conquer this, you will make the time to do it. To be honest with you, if you do this inner work, anytime you do inner work to try to overcome any particular obstacles that you have within yourself, any kind of behaviors, patterns, life patterns, when you do that kind of inner work, it's a ripple effect. This will not just help you overcome stage fright. This shit will change your life, how you interact with all kinds of people, how you interact in all kinds of situations. Whenever you're doing things to improve your mind, body, and spirit, or create balance in your mind, body, and spirit, or you want to expand in mind, body, and spirit, it's going to change everything. It's going to change everything. It's going to change your relationships. So just be prepared. You might lose people in your life. New opportunities will come in. Certain serendipities will happen. Child, after I started reading these two books and doing the exercises and the work from these two books, the most random of happenstances that changed my whole entire life happened. Well, first, just my interactions where people, I really started to create boundaries where I ended up speaking up for myself in areas where I was where I was not before. I started speaking up more in life, in my day-to-day interactions, not just when it was time for me to perform. After I was doing this work, I ended up in a car. I was riding as a passenger in a car. It was my car, but I was the passenger. Which speaks volumes in and of itself, because that's kind of the way my life was going. And the driver ran into a mythical animal. And you're like, yes, Sully, sure, you ran into a mythical animal. That's what I thought. It wasn't a normal. It wasn't an animal that should have been in my area. Put it that way. It's like you think, oh, you're in the woods. I hit a deer. It was not a deer. Okay. It took me 2 weeks to figure out what that animal was, because we hit it. I saw the hooves, and it was dark, and I saw like a camel face, and I'm like, that's not a deer. What the hell was that? I was like, I got to change my life. Some things got to change. It's like God just threw a damn unicorn on top of me. I was riding the bus to work and waiting for my car to be fixed. I was waiting for my car to be fixed for 2 weeks. And I was friendly with the bus driver. You know, we would just chat it up. And it just kept perplexing me. I'm like, I don't know what the hell I hit. On the way to work, I would have this conversation. On the way back home, I would have this conversation. And then finally, like, I think the last day I was riding this bus, the bus driver was asking me, do you ever figure out what you hit? I'm like, I don't know. I thought I hit everything. I was just like, is it a unicorn? Was it a camel? Was it a llama? I don't know what the hell that was. Was it Bigfoot? Was it a yeti? I don't know. The abominable snowman? I don't know what it was. But it was not anything I ever really encountered, and nothing that surely should have been on this road. My last day of riding this bus before I get my car back, the bus driver's like, did you ever figure out what you hit? And so I was like, I don't know what I hit. And then I kept naming off random animals. And this man was like, what road were you driving down? And I told him the road I was driving down. And so he was just like, oh, because there's an alpaca farm not too far from there. And I was just like, I know I heard that animal before, that name before, but please tell me, what's an alpaca? It's like a slightly smaller llama. And I was like, I know I hit a fucking llama. I hit I didn't hit. The person that was driving my car hit the damn llama. And those were one of the people that had to go. So, but I didn't know it yet. But it was like things like that were just happening. And then different as certain people, certain jobs were falling out of my life, then I was getting an uptick of opportunities and new friends and new interactions in other areas of my life. That's just how it works out. So that's just a warning to you. If you don't want the rest of your life to change, then don't do this work. When you do this kind of inner work to expand, things will change. So just be prepared. You will change, and how you interact with people will change, and people won't like it. Some will like it. It will draw a lot of different energy, better energy towards you as well. But, the people that were used to you being small, used to you not speaking up for yourself, used to you allowing slights, they're not going to appreciate your newfound empowerment. They don't have to like it.